I'm Kevin. I've been a prepper since the mid-1990s. The videos that you're going to see, as well as the workbook that goes with the videos, is going to explain how to do prepping. It explains it by using crisis levels and needs management to determine what you need to buy and when. So let's get started on the first element, which is going to be explaining crisis levels and what they mean. I'd like to talk about crisis levels. I decided to come out because it's such a nice day, and the last couple of days we've had storms and I need to check the perimeter. Thought it'd be kind of fun to bring out the camera and do the crisis levels out here. The first crisis level I want to talk about is a crisis level 1, which is a 72-hour crisis. That's the stereotypical, you need to be prepared for 72-hour kit crisis. They can come from lightning storms, tornadoes, other events. I'm sure most people have been through a 72-hour event. What the 72-hour event does is it takes the supplies that you have and you need to add to cover 72 hours. Pretty basic stuff. Right now we're going to stick with crisis level 1 because that's what we build everything on. You take what you have as supplies at home and then you add enough things to cover for a 72-hour event where you don't have to leave the house. The whole series is about sitting in place, not bugging out. A level 1 crisis could be a thunderstorm creating a power outage for 3 days. Generally it's very local, and if you need to, you could always go outside the area, get stuff, and bring it back. But you need to not do that. You need to have the supplies right near on hand so you can prepare for the level 2, which would be a 72-hour to 10-day event. So keeping that in mind, you prepare for locally, you prepare for what your needs are for the local. And then you broaden out to increase to the level 4 5s, which are like the super disaster things, which are really, really unlikely. But you want to keep that inside the frame of view because you don't know really what's going to be happening. So that's it for the level 1 crisis, 72 hours, easy to do, more of an inconvenience. Let's get on to the level 2s. Okay, let's talk about a crisis level 2. A crisis level 2 is generally an extension of a crisis level 1 event. Remember, crisis level 1 goes from incident to 72 hours. A crisis level 2 event goes from 72 hours to 10 days. In that time frame, because in level 1 you've already increased your food supply for 3 days, you're now going to need to add to it to make it for 10 days. In addition, you're going to be needing to have other elements as well, like maybe a generator, cell phone charger, and other items. So a level 1 crisis, inconvenient. Level 2 crisis, maybe a little bit more inconvenient, but still easily done and easily handled. Next level, crisis 3. Now let's talk about crisis level 3. A crisis level 3 is not an inconvenience like a crisis level 1 or a crisis level 2 could be. In a crisis level 3, which goes from 10 days to 30 days, your world seriously will change. Food supplies will be less, air conditioning, electricity may not be available, or if you're in a colder climate, heat may not be available. So you need to prepare for these elements. Food also will be scarce. State and local resources may have needed to have FEMA input or have other areas come in. Non-government organizations come in like Red Cross and Salvation Army to try to come into the area. What you need to do as a prepper is you need to be prepared for a 30-day event. That's going to require increasing your stocks from a crisis level 1, which you increased in a crisis level 2, which now you're going to increase to a crisis level 3. You'll be introducing other elements as well, like generators and possibly some solar ovens and things like that. Now we're going to go on to crisis level 4. We talk about level 4. Crisis level 4s are really nasty. They're worse than crisis level 3s. It goes for 30 to 90 days. It's a long time. What's going to be happening is you're going to be having food supplies are going to be disappearing. You're going to have a lot of people dying, especially if this is more of a national event than a regional event. Supply lines will be stretched. You're going to find yourself more reliant on your neighbors than you were ever before. This is where you have 30 to 60 to 90 days worth of food on hand. Because you've been starting with level 1 and you enhance it, level 3, level 4, it's easier to add supplies to things you already exist. You're going to be adding other things to it. Maybe a solar cooker, maybe some solar panels, maybe getting more involved with your neighbors, maybe learning to fish and hunt. Anyway, that's a crisis level 4. Pretty nasty stuff. Your world's going to completely change. So, without getting too morbid, keep in mind also that crisis level 4s and 5s are really, really rare. The probabilities are very low. So that's why you have to seriously consider prepping for levels 1, 2, and 3 completely before starting to consider level 4. Level 4 could come from an EM pulse, could come from a natural disaster, could come from some man-made nonsense. Anyway, the bottom line on it is you got to be prepared for 90 days at this point. Let's go on to the last level, level 5. Next is crisis level 5. It's a beautiful day down here today in Florida. Sky's blue, clouds are out, everything's green and growing, a little on the humid side. In the distance I can hear cars. I went to the store today and got ice cream. At a crisis level 5, that won't be happening. Your world will be completely different. No going to work, you're going to have to be figuring out where you're going to try to find food. You're going to be bored because there's nothing else to do that you normally would do. A crisis level 5 is very, very serious. In my particular example of a crisis level 5, I've extended it to include most of the United States, not just a regional event. So your supply lines are going to be down. You're going to be totally self-reliant on your neighbors, as well as your community, as well as your homeowners association, or state and local government, which is a good point right now to mention. If you have an opportunity of getting involved with your homeowners association or state and local government, not a bad idea to do it before something bad happens. A crisis level 5 requires a lot of preparation. Luckily for you, you followed the procedure and you prepared for level 1, 2, 3, 4, and now you're ready to go for 5, which is accumulation of some more serious items like solar paneling for lighting, or medicine gathering, or farming equipment. A good farm tool is a farmer's almanac for your area. Anyway, a crisis level 5 is very, very serious, but because you've done everything so far as you should, your prepping for that should not be as complex. So those are the 5 crisis levels. Now, what I'd like to do is talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is actually the key that we use to make the crisis levels work for prepping accurately and deliberately. Okay, you've learned about the crisis levels. Now let's talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs was developed by a man named Abraham Maslow in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Basically, it says that you have to have 4 needs met. Your first need is your biological need. That would be water and food. Next would be safety needs, which would be a roof over your head or some form of safety for you. Next is the self-esteem needs, which are socialization needs. You need to be around other people. And last is the self-actualization need, which is the pinnacle moment when the other needs are met that comes together for a brief time, and it's a very important part of what happens to you in your life. For the sake of prepping, and I'm no Maslow scholar by any stretch, I just use a really basic version of it that I picked up when I was in high school, and I learned it in a psych class in college. It takes the basic needs, the bio needs, the safety needs, and self-esteem needs, and I apply them against a crisis level. I take each crisis level and make sure that those needs or that need pyramid is met. So, using a pyramid, let me do an example for you. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization's at the top, but you can't get to it until the rest of this is finished. Same thing with prepping, or with my prepping style. You need to get your biological needs met first. This for a crisis level 1, and then subsequently to 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is what you fill first. You spend your money buying biological needs items for a crisis level 1, which is a 72-hour event. You don't go buying for a crisis level 5, which is a super volcano event type thing. If your basic needs aren't met for 72 hours, and then subsequently for the crisis level 2 and crisis level 3, preparing for a 5 category event is just ridiculous. You won't survive. So you keep it simple. Bio needs first. When the bio needs are met, you go for safety needs. What do you consider for 72 hours that you need to do to maintain your safety? Do you need to purchase a dog? Don't go buying a dog just for an event that may never happen, but other elements that would make you feel safe. After your safety needs are met, after you paid for the bio needs, then you paid for the safety needs, then you get self-esteem needs. In this particular instance, self-esteem is just going to be boredom. I'm not going to go into the interactions with group dynamics and the rest of it, because for prepping, it's really not relevant. What is relevant, though, is with the self-esteem needs, is boredom. When things go bad, and I've learned this from being a shelter manager before, first 24 hours, 12 to 24, there's usually no problem. After 24, we start having problems. If boredom sets in, then unhappiness sets in and frustration. So you want to keep people active. It could be anything from in a 72-hour event to having board games or cards, a football to throw around, or even if it's an event that's significant to your specific region, maybe go out and helping to fix that problem. It's just something to keep people from getting stir crazy and a little bit cabin fever. You've got your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you incorporate your crisis levels in. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, crisis level 1. Then you add to these needs for crisis level 2. You don't have to repeat them. So that's what we have right now, and we're going to wrap it up with this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. I will do my best to get back with them. If you're interested in finding more about this entire series, it is on Kindle. It is the series Preppers First 72 Hours. I'm Kevin. I've enjoyed doing this video, and if you have any questions or comments, please send them to me. And be safe and be well, and good luck to you.